What's going on, Hope Community Church? It's Pastor Trevor here, and you are about to listen to our last conversation for the series recap, looking at Mama Taught Ya and our Joy series. And we're just so thankful that you are here. If you found these videos to be helpful, we would love for you to like and subscribe to Hope Community Church's YouTube channel. It helps us dearly. And so it helps us know that this is content that you guys still want to see and love viewing. And so if you guys could do us a favor and do that, that would be awesome. With that, let's get into the video. Dude, how's it going, man?
Good. I'm doing good.
Good.
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know,
It's June.
it's June now. Is it still raining outside? When I came in here this morning, it was
Yeah, I mean, like people aren't going to be listening today anyway, but
yeah.
no, it's not. I played pickleball.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
But we have a couple series we're talking about today. We're going to talk about Mama Taught You and Joy. But we
Yeah.
had a little bit of a break in between. So typically we would do like one series as one series recap.
Yeah, but they were both just little baby two-parters.
Two little ones.
Yeah.
But we were also gone for something really cool.
Right, that's true.
We were gone at the IA retreat.
Yeah, and IA is...
Intern Academy.
Yep. Yeah, you can't
Shameless
just, people
plug on the mug. But for those who don't know, we support IA.
We as a church.
We as a church, and so
Trevor and I as people do too. But
we do too. Yeah,
but as a church. Yep.
But what do you love about IA? Why do you think it matters?
Yeah, so what Intern Academy is about is it's creating a pipeline of leaders through a network of ministry internships.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we exist. And I'm really privileged to not just be a coach and like you, both coaches but also
as
both
well.
interns.
Yeah.
And so I did an internship with Intern Academy in 2009. But basically, some pastors, it started in student ministry. Some pastors had a dream of first just creating some resources and some help for people as they're getting started in ministry. There was a lot of people from that generation who just really felt like they were just kind of like given keys to the church and said, go. And there was no guidance and there was no resources and there was no training. And, you know, they were just like, all right, figure it out, kid. And they wanted to create a new generation of pastors who maybe had some more tools and had some more. And on top of that, they just talked a lot about how lonely it was when they were starting. And so they wanted to also create community for pastors. And so Intern Academy started with that kind of hope. And that was in 2009 when my intern year was the first year. So
let's go.
So that's been...
You were the guinea pig to see how it...
So that's been 17 years ago now.
You did it with Gretchen, right?
Gretchen. Yeah, Gretchen Dedina Olson then was my coach, but she was also, it was my home church. So
okay.
That's just like where I was.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so anyway, I've been a part of it since then. One of the special things about it is if as a grad, you can keep coming back to all the events and stuff and still be a part of it. And so I've been a part of it since then and part of the leadership. You did a lot this year at the retreat too, helping with videos and pictures and stuff. But anyway, it's a really great organization. What I think we discovered, Intern Academy Retreat is the biggest event that we do every year.
Yeah.
And it's all coaches, all interns, all grads. Everybody comes together that's available. And I think what we found out on accident is that community piece that they were really hoping for of just when we create an environment for people to just be together, they have the conversations that we hope they have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so we definitely have some structured things and there's some conversations we hope people do have and we set it up that way. But what we found out is also just when you get a bunch of ministry leaders in the room, they talk about the things that you hope they would talk about.
Yeah.
And so it's always really special getting to see people, getting to meet new people. I just love the environment there. It reminds me as I'm getting older, just reminds me of just kind of some of that youthful excitement about the kingdom of God and the church that fires me up, man.
Yeah.
I love getting to see some of the young people who just don't have the cynicism, I guess, that I have and be reminded about just kind of some of that purity and the joy of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so cool too. Yeah. Because did you just do the one internship?
I just had one internship.
You just had one. I did. I did with. What was that 2019? Would have been no. 2018? I forget.
Are you talking about at Salem
It
or
was
at Goshen?
at Goshen.
Oh, I
I
don't
did
know.
2 internships.
Yeah, I
One in
don't.
Goshen, one Salem.
Salem would have been 2020
2020,
or
yes.
21 into 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, poor Trevor. I asked
20.
him to be my intern, and then I moved. I said, you should come work with me. And then I said, actually, work with somebody else
Actually,
because
peace out.
I'm not going to be here.
It was so a blast. I still loved it. And then even our interns now here are intern academy
Yeah.
interns.
So if you remember some of the OGs, will remember Tommy.
Yep, Tommy.
Who was
Gabriel,
who was amazing. Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey.
Charlie. And now Caleb actually is an intern academy intern. And that's one of the cool things that's happening is it started with just a bunch of college kids, but we're discovering that there's people who are feeling called to ministry later in life. Yeah. And obviously Caleb's not like an old guy, but he's a dad. You know what I mean? It's not a young college kid. It's a married dad who's raising a family who's now feeling called to ministry. And so intern academy is kind of evolving to make room for those people. Yeah. And I think that's a really special thing. And we have loved having Caleb on our team. Yeah. And I know Hope Church, you guys have too. So
yeah, because there's I love that you said it. It reminds me even of like who we know, Denise, who is a lot older, who is
working at Salem where Trevor and I are from in Dayton. Yeah. And she's a grandma.
Yeah. It's a very different stage of life than all of us.
Yeah. But I got to tell you a fun story about Denise. Yeah. This was not planned. This is going to feel like we planned this. This is not planned, but it's a cool
we honestly
story.
Just started shooting and recording.
No, not. Denise told me that she took the little directory from everybody who was at retreat, and she took the first names of all the interns, and she created a list, and she took it back to her life group back at her home church, and they've divided up those names, and they're praying for all those interns by name in their small group. I know.
That's so cool.
I know. So
please tell me Barb is in that group. That feels like a Barb thing to do too.
Yeah, I don't. She would be in, but I don't know if she is. But yeah, so they're praying over all the interns this cool. Summer. That small group of boomers in Dayton. And I love that.
I did not know so that. Much. That's super cool.
Yeah, well, she just decided to do it. So yeah,
that's super cool.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, it's a great organization, and if you're a part of Hope Church, you're a part of it.
Yeah.
And one of the best things about it is we recognize that the internships benefit the intern way more than the church, right? You think about internships as like cheap labor for the church, but really it's a ministry that we provide where we're helping inspire and raise up young leaders that are going to go everywhere. I mean, Tommy's a youth pastor now in Eastern Ohio, and Gabriel is working at his alma mater at Mid-America Christian. Charlie's still in school, so we'll see where she goes from here. Caleb obviously still with us. Yeah. But Aubrey, we just saw Aubrey, and God's doing some cool stuff in her life. She was at the retreat to share with us. And so anyway, when we partner with these organizations like Intern Academy, it's just one of those cool things where everywhere that Tommy Rose goes, we get to say, hey, we are a part of his ministry because, we help raise him up and send him out. Yeah. So everything that he does, all the people that he impacts and the students that he's loving on, we played a part in that, and that's really special. So thanks, Hope Church, for supporting a ministry like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was going to try to find a segue, but there's not. Other than Denise is a grandma, which leads us into Momma Taught You series.
Great. You saved it.
That was smooth, right? It was right in. Mm-hmm. So we did 2 weeks of Momma Taught You, 2 weeks of Joy. Mm-hmm. First week, you kind of dived into You're Responsible for You, and second week of Golden Rule. Mm-hmm. How do you think those series or that series? What do you think? I know you said you were excited for it. You've been wanting to do the series for a bit. Kind of talk to me a little bit. How did it go?
How do I feel like it went?
How do you feel like it went?
Sure.
How do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it went really well. Some of this is, again, I like talking about my mom. I love my mom. Shout out to my mom, Maureen. Love you.
Your mom's a great person.
Thanks, man. I think so. But this kind of ties into what I love about practicing the way. Is practicing the way to get into practicing the way. The premise is everyone is becoming someone, right? All of us are becoming someone. That's not a Jesus thing. That's just a person thing. Everybody's becoming someone. The decisions that we make, the habits that we have, the practices, our rhythms, our relationships,
Yeah.
they're all turning us into someone. And so the question is, do we want to have intentionality around who we're becoming?
Mm.
And the life that we're living, are we proud of who we're becoming?
Yeah.
Because for many of us, we don't think about how we're becoming someone. We just fart around on our phones and we're becoming someone based on what our phones are showing us.
Yeah.
But we don't think about that at all. We don't think about who we're becoming.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I love about practicing the way, which we talk a lot about here at Hope, of course, is that even if you're not sure about Jesus, you can understand this idea of, who do I want to become?
Yeah.
And am I proud of the person I'm becoming right now? You know, is my life turning me into the kind of person that I want to be?
Mm.
And I think that obviously for us, that leads us to a conversation about Jesus, where we say, well, hey, we believe that if you want to become the kind of person that you were created to become, if you want to live the best life,
following Jesus.
Yeah, it's practicing the way of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
It's ordering your life around that.
Yeah.
And that will form you into a kind of person that is kind and loving and gracious and leads to, as Jesus would say, life to the full, right?
Mm.
And so we believe it leads us to that, but you don't have to believe in Jesus to understand the premise, which is, have you ever thought about the person that you're becoming?
Yeah.
And I guess what I love about the Mom series is it's kind of that same thing where we know that these are rooted in deep biblical truths from Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But for many people, if you're like, oh, I've always struggled to read my Bible, or, oh, I've always struggled to pray, or whatever. Again, to go back to our last series, I believe prayer is for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think that's boo. But if you are somebody who is unsure about how spiritual you are, you can connect with this idea of, what are the things that my mom taught me, right? Like, it's, again, I know that this connects to a deep biblical truth, but maybe for many people, the door into that is a lesson that your mom taught you. You don't have to be religious to think about, what did my mom teach me?
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about each of these things, is they're things that I know are connected to biblical truths. But even if you don't believe in biblical truth, you still probably were taught those things by your mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's cool is following Jesus is not just really powerful and amazing because of the get out of hell free card that people talk about. But following Jesus is amazing because it's just the best way to live.
Yeah. And
series like this is kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you worry about you. You're responsible for you. That's just a true thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to accept Jesus to know that that's true. Jesus talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
But you don't have to believe in Jesus to acknowledge that's true. And maybe you've never been in a church, but your mom maybe taught you that. And I think that's what's cool, is to build that bridge for people between, like, hey, this Jesus way is just the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so good too. And I think too, there's a lot of things, I think, in our culture that do so have a pretty Jesus background in a way. And that's one of those things, what you were talking about is where a lot of these things are so rooted in a way, like the golden rule. I think for most people who aren't even at church probably know some version of the golden rule, which is still from Jesus himself. And so those are still, like, just good things that almost like everybody can basically be like, oh yeah, I've heard this before. I know this to be true.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a weird thing about culture, right? Where, again, because the Bible is an ancient text written in an ancient language, and people love to fight about what Bible actually says and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And get into the nitty-gritty. And so sometimes when you say things like, well, Jesus says this, people will be like, well, but did he really mean?
But he mean it this way?
Yeah. And I think the things that we talked about are pretty obvious what he was talking about. But for some reason in our culture, when you bring up, like, things that moms, like, everybody understand. For some reason, like, we have this, like, shared experience of
mom teachings.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing, right? That if you say, like, your mom was probably like that, you're like, oh yeah, my mom was like that, right? And I know that's changing. And again, we wanted to acknowledge people who didn't have great experiences with moms, but um, you know, sometimes when you get into those teachings of Jesus about why are you worried about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own, people love to argue about stuff because nobody wants to. Again, it's ironic because this is literally the teaching. Nobody wants to talk about their own failures. They just want to talk about everybody else is wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And so they find a way to twist that around so that they don't have to deal with their own stuff. They can just blame everybody else. But when you remind them of their mom, who didn't let them get away with that kind of crap, like my mom would be mad I said crap to bring it up to moms. My mom would be like, we don't say that word, right? But your mom doesn't put up with your stuff, right? And so if you flip it from, weirdly, if you flip it from Jesus to your mom, all of a sudden people don't, like, you're not going to argue with mom. When mom says it, it's done.
Yeah.
And it should be that way with Jesus, but instead we try to
weirdly
twist
not.
it.
Yeah, it's very
we try
different.
to twist it so that we can be on Jesus' side without having to make adjustments. But your mom, you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so when you make it about, hey, remember what your mom taught you about, like, I don't care what your friends are doing. I saw what you were doing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be with Jesus.
Yeah.
Where it's, I don't care what everybody else is doing. Look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know? But for some reason, that's harder for us to do than with our moms who, you know, grounded us or put us in the corner or spanked us or took our video games away or whatever your mom did. But anyway, I think there's a power in that. And so, and I know I said it on the day, but I truly believe, especially that week one, I mean, why are you worried about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? Being responsible for yourself, taking responsibility for your actions. I truly believe that is one of the greatest crises facing our culture today. Is, frankly, nobody wants to take responsibility for their own failures.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Everything is somebody else's fault. Everything is somebody else's problem. Everything is because somebody else did something. We're good, they're bad, white hats, black hats. And it just, frankly, is not that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Romans 3, right? All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.
Yeah.
This is like a foundational idea of our theology, that everybody is messed up.
Yeah.
But then when we get into conversations with people, we, for some reason, can't acknowledge that.
Yeah. It goes to somebody else.
Yeah. And so anyway, I think, seriously, if we can learn to just take ownership for ourselves and be wrong. Be wrong about something, right? I know, right? If you can just be wrong sometimes, the world actually will be better. Because guess what? You are wrong sometimes.
And I think it's freeing when you accept that.
It is.
I think it's freeing. Because otherwise, you put this, like, you're carrying this weight that you're not meant to carry.
Yeah.
You're not going to get everything right all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's just life.
Yeah. And I guess I shouldn't speak for everyone, but, like, I respect people more when they can. Like, I lose respect for you when you continuously refuse to take, I don't need to believe that you're perfect. I know that you're not perfect. So I actually respect you more if you just take responsibility for yourself when you mess up, instead of trying to cover it up or pretend that it's not exist. You know what I mean? Like, I think we are afraid that if we acknowledge our brokenness, our failure, it presents weakness. But to me, weakness is when you are unable to take responsibility for your failures, right? That's weakness. You like can't deal with your own stuff, man. Or gal. But anyway, I think that would change our society in a huge way. Yeah. And again, it's a teaching of Jesus. And I love too, David modeled this for us, right? It's not that David never messed up. David messed up a lot. But when he was confronted with his failure, he took responsibility for it, and he didn't shirk the consequences. He ate it, man. Like, he dealt with some hard stuff, and he ate it because he knew he messed up. And he didn't try to shove it off on somebody else. He didn't try to blame somebody else. He just wore it. Yeah. He wore it because he knew it was his fault. And I don't know, man. There's that. I can respect that. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. Because I think too, part of it too is when you are trying to act like it was somebody else's problem or something like that, like you're limiting your ability to grow.
Yes, and to heal from it.
And to heal from it. instead of, if you take that responsibility that like, okay, yeah, I did mess up, like you're setting more of a foundation to say like, now where do I want to go from here?
Come on.
You're not trying to continue to cover up or continue
Mhm.
to go around it. You are saying, all right, like I did mess up. That
Yep.
wasn't the greatest. Where do I want to go from here? And that reminds me even too of a little bit of like Peter's story of like denying Christ 3 times.
Yeah.
And Jesus goes and he's like, Peter, do you love me?
Yeah, he brings restoration.
And what does Peter do? He doesn't go, well, did you see what Judas did?
Right.
He goes on and he pushes forward and he grows from it.
And in that conversation, he looks at John and he's like, well, what about him? And what is Jesus? Jesus is like, you don't worry about him.
Don't worry about John.
Well, yeah. Who cares? What if I say he's going to live forever? That's not your problem.
That's not you.
Yeah.
And I love the thing right afterwards where it's like, some people thought Jesus said John was going to live forever.
Right, yeah, ain't that how
but
people
all
work?
that,
yeah.
I love it when it like repeats the exact line all over again. It's like, but all Jesus said was, and it just repeats the exact line again.
Yeah. But even when Peter tried to bring John into it,
yeah,
Jesus said, hey, don't worry about John. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's it. And again, there's so much in Scripture, of course, about caring about others, and the golden rule is all about noticing other people and the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that we just like isolate ourselves. That's not it. But we just need to, think about the people that we're becoming. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And so and then that led to the golden rule.
To the golden rule
versus the silver rule. I think that's for me, that's like the big takeaway as I was writing it, is that the being active in it instead of passive. Instead of just like trying to not cause harm, we think about what does it mean to actually love others. Right?
Yeah.
Because those are different things.
They are.
And I think the golden rule, treating others the way you want to be treated, is not just not causing harm.
Yeah.
But it is, how do I actively love somebody else? How do I actively show up for them? What would be a loving thing? Not just how do I avoid the unloving thing, but what would be a loving thing for this person, I think is a really important thing.
Yeah. Because I think, most of us would rather just avoid the person.
Right, exactly.
Altogether. And be like, well, I wasn't mean.
That's right.
And it's like, yes, you weren't technically mean to them in their face, but you are instead choosing to go away from them.
Yeah.
And I think in the same way, like, I think we would recognize that even with our moms. Like, I know I was a jerk sometimes to my mom when I was a kid. And, but I know it wouldn't be loving if my mom said, all right, well, I'm just not going to deal with you at all today, and you go do your own thing, and I'm going to go hide over here far away from you. And it's like, that's not loving. She wasn't mean back to me at all, but definitely isn't loving, I think there are spaces where you do need to breathe and get away, but avoidance is not learning to love like Jesus. And same thing with the first one. I think when we lean into those spaces sometimes is when we learn to grow in our ability to love better.
Yeah. And again, thinking about it as an active thing teaches us to pay attention to other people's needs.
Yeah.
Right? We inherently must become outwardly focused to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not always good at that. So, but I just think even in your really good relationships, right?
Yeah.
I think immediately we think about enemies, but I think even with just our home relationships, right? There's, not doing the things that makes your wife mad, but then there's also going out of your way to do the loving thing.
Yeah.
And those are different, There's picking up your own trash, and then there's helping clean up other people's plates. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like one is not causing harm. The other is going out of your way to do a kind thing that helps people feel valued.
Yeah.
So, and again, I think my mom, she taught us those things, but my mom really modeled that for us. She's just that kind of a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love the series. It will probably come back around. I mean, there's so many more things that can be there. And I just,
A part 2 series.
Yeah. Mama taught you again.
Mama taught you again.
Mama still is teaching you. But yeah. it's a really fun series and just a fun Mother's Day thing. And so
Yeah.
shout out to all the moms.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
Moms are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm curious, what I think you already said it. What do you think that first one is probably the more universal one out of the two, um you're responsible for you, or would you kind of say golden rule?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you mean by universal, but
I guess more like more something probably you've seen more people be like, oh yeah, my mom taught me
oh,
that
no
too.
way. The golden rule, like everybody knows the golden rule.
That's
like,
fair. Yeah,
I don't know
that's
as
fair.
many people connected to their moms, but like
Yeah.
everybody knows the golden rule.
Yeah.
Way more than, yeah. I mean, I guess at school it'd be like keep your hands to yourself or whatever, but
Yeah.
That's different than, you're responsible for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the golden rule is like ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the golden rule. Yeah. I think the first one probably is a greater problem in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think a lot of people's moms would be really disappointed in them.
Yeah.
If they saw the way they were behaving.
Mm.
But yeah.
My mom used to always tell me that with my brother all the time. I don't care what your brother's doing.
Yeah, right. Well, that's it. That's why we all know that lesson.
Yeah.
And for some reason we just like can't do it now.
Yeah.
We just love to point out other people's flaws. It makes us feel better about ourselves when we think other people are worse than us.
Yeah. I think sometimes, yeah, I almost think it's gotten easier in a way where most media seems like it's even going that direction.
Oh, yeah,
where
absolutely.
I think we've talked about this before, even when it comes to like politics stuff, where it's just simply I'm not going to tell you actually what I'm for. I'm going to tell you why you should be against this person.
That's right. Yes.
And it's like, no, just tell me what you're actually for. Like, what do you stand for?
Yeah, it's going to ramp up this summer and stuff. Yeah, it's a big election year, and that's all the commercials will be about why this other person's horrible.
Yeah.
It will have nothing to do with what the other person's good for. Yeah. Yep. And that's a huge problem. But it's not just politics. I mean, I work in church work. Like, church work is all about that. It's talking about how this church is bad and that church is bad. And can you believe they did this? And I would never go to a church if they said this. And can you believe they're doing that? And that's so inappropriate and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like, we just love to just like talk about how horrible everybody else is. I mean, church work is the same way, man.
Yeah.
We just berate people and tear them down. And I don't know. I would never, or parenting, like if you get into the parenting world, like there's so much pressure because everybody's got ideas about, well, you can't feed your kid this and you can't do that. And I can't believe you don't spend time doing this. And how much screen time do your kids have? Oh my gosh, you're blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we just nitpick everybody and we make everybody feel horrible about themselves all the time instead of wrestling with the Lord about, hey, God, who are you calling me to be as a parent? How are you calling me to vote and understand my country? What kind of church do you want me to come be a part of? And how do you want me to contribute to that? We don't ever wrestle with that. We just love to talk about how everybody else is horrible.
Yeah.
Because again, that doesn't require us to actually change. Ooh, can I say that again? That doesn't require us to change.
Yeah.
We can just berate and belittle everybody else. And that asks nothing of us.
Yeah.
The change that needs to happen is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to do the hard work of changing. Somebody else does.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Because if it's easier to just stay in that place, but it's a poison. It's just going to drag you down the more you just sit in that aspect of looking and judging everybody else's thing that they have to do and not ever worry about yourself. And yeah, it's just like a poison. It will catch up to you.
Yeah, and people will say, well, like, but shouldn't we hold people accountable and all that stuff?
Sure.
And like, yes. I think the problem is we don't hold ourselves accountable and then we want to hold everybody else accountable.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's hard to hear criticism from somebody who you don't believe will be criticized themselves. If you don't feel like this person is caring about who they're becoming and how they're changing, and then it's really hard to hear from them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. The pot calling the kettle black, as they say, right? Which I don't even understand that, but that's what they say.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
The pot calling the kettle black? You've never heard that?
No.
Oh. I know you're like laughing like Nathaniel's making stuff up, but you'll find out in the
No,
comments. That's you, man.
I.
That's a very common phrase. I believe that. The people are going to
I'm
back me
not
up on
saying it's
that.
not a common
Okay.
phrase. I just never
Yeah.
heard it before.
I've never even. I have no idea where it comes from though.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yep.
Hmm.
But people say it.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Maybe because everything used to be like cast iron. I don't know. So like the
Yeah.
pot and the kettle were both black.
Everything's just like the nonstick now.
Yeah, but maybe that phrase comes from like everything maybe used to be
Oh yeah, it used to be
all
different.
the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Let's not get bogged down here. We got a whole other series we need to talk about.
We're gonna get bogged down with this one little point.
Yeah, no, we don't need to do that. Yeah. But that was Moms. It was
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah. And then we got into joy. Where we talked about some joy and some good times, talked about some suffering stuff, trials, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, do I get to ask
Yeah.
the questions now?
Yeah, go
Okay,
for it.
since you preached on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you were kind of wrestling with this, what kind of led you to wanting to do this series, and what's kind of the kind of story behind this series?
Yeah. I think for me, I think my heart behind the series is seeing people constantly want to equate their happiness and joy with everything but Christ. And I think that has seeped into even just the way that we look at churches sometimes, where if the church is not pleasing me in this very specific way that I want, then I can't be happy here. If they're not doing this X amount of hymns or this amount of contemporary songs or using this amount of scripture as compared to this amount or whatever it may be.
Not being fed.
Yeah, even within the church itself, I think we've equated feeling joy with very specific situations and circumstances. And to say, no, like your circumstances and situations will continue to change all the time. And so our joy is not to be built there, but to be built on God himself. And so wherever that leads you, you can still have joy no matter what. Because I mean what I said, I think it's easy for us if that is where our joy comes from. We can still have joy in some really hard times. It doesn't mean, you're going through all of your life the biggest smile, like you're the most cheerful person all the time. But that you can still have a sense of joy, even in some hard moments. So I think that was my heart, is almost this act that I think sometimes we want to do of like, to be a mature Christian, you have to be that always smiling, like very happy person.
Yeah, nothing's ever hard.
And that was kind of hard for the second week, is no, like you will run through hard things. And that will happen, but we can still have joy in the midst of those moments if our joy is built on God.
Yeah. So week one, I loved. It was really a throwback, man. The call response, like, oh man, that took me back to like 1997. Sitting there, I was here for it, man. I was here for it.
I had no idea how that was gonna go. I was like, this is gonna go
you were
well.
Like so nervous about it. I was like, bro, we got a bunch of church people in here. They've been waiting their whole lives for a call response reading. At least that's how I felt. I was like, oh, these people, they're ready for this, man.
Dude, they did great.
Yeah. Well, because again, like we used to do that stuff all the time. I don't know what your church was like, but like we used to do that stuff all the time when I was growing up.
I've seen it a few times. I don't know if I remember the church I really grew up in doing it all that often.
Man, we were always doing that. I was like ready, man. That's why like you just set it up. And that's why like at the end when you came back to it, it was still in a different color. So everybody just did it. Did you notice that when you came back to it? You didn't say
what
like,
was it?
Huh?
Oh, I did not even notice that.
That's why everybody said it. Yeah, it was like a copy paste from your earlier thing. So like
That's good.
his love endures forever. I mean, it was still even colored the same way, and
Good.
so everybody was just like ready to go. They're like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that color, that's me. I'm
That's
reading
the
that
one I gotta read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we used to have readings that were like just the guys now, and just the ladies now, and everybody. And
We did that with some like hymn sings. There was a specific song I feel like I remember where it was always there was a girl part and a guy part. I forget what song it was.
mm-hmm.
But
Yep. But yeah, it's super cool, and I loved just starting the series that way. But yeah, so tell me about week 1.
yeah. I really wanted to keep that basis line. I knew I was gonna get into wanting to wrestle with the trials and hardships and stuff like that. And so first, before we got there, I wanted to have that foundation kind of set first of joy being about that remembrance of God. And part of it even comes from the partially the whole prayer series, a little bit of that remembrance of God. And I think when I see about the Lord's Prayer, and we've read it a little bit too with Tyler Saton's book, Praying Like Monks, Living Like Fools, of starting your prayer with that remembrance of who God is and who we are with God. And that being the starting point before I want to rush into anything else. It's that starting point of everything. And so for me, that was really a place I wanted to create as our foundation for that 2 weeks. And so just simply having I feel like 3 is the magic number of all gratitude things. Of find 3 things that you've seen they can give thanks to God for. Which it's so weird because you never know how many people have actually did it or not. But I think it's just a good practice in general. But that was kind of where I wanted to start. I think so often we can feel the shame if we are not this super joyful, happy. We think joyful as like beaming with light, always excited, talking, laughing all the time person. And I don't think that's always necessarily how joy is. But that we can have joy with God as our foundation for it, and remembering that He doesn't change, and that's good for us. That is good for us.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where I want to kick off with week 1 for that.
Yeah. And so in week 2, we talked about joy no matter the circumstances, Corrie ten Boom, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Love the book, The Hiding Place. There was another one. Somebody came up to me about a book called The Watchmaker's Daughter, who they said they believe it was also written by Corrie ten Boom. I haven't read that one. But her story is one that I've always loved and fell in love with. And I think for me, like, yeah, it's that same thing. Starting with that basis, I kind of grew up with this thing that God doesn't want anybody to go through any hardships. And so if you're a Christian, like, everything should be fine and happy dandy, and your life should.
There's this weird dichotomy in American Christianity where so many people gristle at prosperity gospel.
Yeah.
Like if you do things, God's going to give you riches and wealth.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we don't do prosperity gospel. And then out of the same mouth come things like, I did everything right, and then this bad thing happens.
This bad thing happened.
You understand that's what prosperity gospel is, right?
Yeah.
It's if you think that if you do all the right things, you get good back, right?
Yeah.
That's prosperity gospel. That's karma, right?
Yeah.
And so it's weird that people have this like aversion to that, but then subtly we all believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And throughout Scripture, I mean, we are told we will go through hard times. And so I think everybody has those different things of what hard times looks like for them. But I think the reality of it is that we all have those at some point in our lives. And so I think I really want to start with her story because I think sometimes it's easy to just kind of talk about suffering and it's like keep on moving through. But
Mm-hmm.
no, like she had loss. You know, she went through some really hard things. But I think when it comes to suffering, I wanted to use a story of an actual person because stories are something that we can see and can gravitate towards
Mm-hmm.
more than just a standard blanket teaching of
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. When like grief and pain is like not a competition.
Yeah.
But what's really powerful, and that's why her ministry was so great, is I mean, being a Holocaust survivor is
Mm.
like that one is a hard one to be like, well, yeah, but you didn't have to do what
You
I
didn't
did.
have
You know what I mean?
to.
Like if you are coming through as a Holocaust survivor,
Mhm.
that already puts you in this like overcoming. If you can overcome that with joy,
Yeah.
this is the deepest depths of despair people can know.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody's really going to argue with her about that. Like
Yeah.
that she doesn't know pain, that she doesn't know loss, that she doesn't know suffering.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's part of what's powerful, and I think that's why her story is a great one, right?
Mm.
Where somebody maybe would talk about your own pain and grief, which
Yeah.
is real,
Yeah.
and somebody would be like, "But Trevor, you don't even know."
You're only like 26
Yeah,
years
but
old.
people
What do you
won't do
know?
that with Corey Ten Boom
Yeah.
because, yeah, her story is that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, I think when you're wrestling through those times, I think seeing like like stories of people who have gone before us, I think helps keep us grounded too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes it's easy for us to lose track because in the midst of those moments of pain and sufferings, like it's easy for us to be like, God, where are you in this? Because we don't see the final point.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we can look back at these previous stories of people who've come before us, who've wrestled through hard things, I believe it to be true of Ecclesiastes of there's nothing new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever pain we're going through, some variation of it probably has existed before you also, and somebody has ran through the same thing also.
Yep.
And so we can find and see these stories of people of where God has continually shown up time and time and time again. And all these stories are going to look different too, because that's one of the beautiful joys of God too, is
Mm-hmm.
being in relationship with God. Not everything is this clear-cut formula that happens in the exact same way. We're going to experience God a little different. We're going to experience the same joy and love and peace from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's why these stories too are so captivating in a way of it keeps us grounded to the reality that it takes that head knowledge to that heart knowledge
Mm-hmm.
of saying, hey, I know God is unchanging, versus you're reading story after story and you're like, and you're starting to see, oh, okay, I'm seeing now where God is still moving in my story, even in the midst of this situation. And I can have this trust that he's going to continue on and keep moving and keep being the same person he has always been.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think stories have a great way in that.
Yep. And you connected it to scripture.
Yep, with James.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
James.
yeah. So I've always loved James. I love even Romans 8 of Paul saying, like all of these things are not even close, like being worth comparing to what's to come. And I think, yeah, if we look at Paul's life, he's also a man who has gone through trials after trial after trial. And you just think about where Paul started of his persecution of early Christians. There's probably some things he's had to work through when he started following Jesus. That was a trial. He probably met other people who were believers who did not trust him immediately.
No.
And so there's even trials in that he has to walk through. And so even him, you know, he's not somebody who I'm looking at who is just saying something just to say something.
Yeah.
But this is a man who actually believes
Mm-hmm.
what it is that he's saying. That even through all of these things, they're not even worth comparing to the glory that will be revealed to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can have hope, A, that God is unchanging, and B, of the promise of what's to come, too. And I think if there was one thing to change, I'd probably lean also in that a little bit more. I don't think I lean into that too much, but there's also a hope that we have of to come, that we can rest in an assurance that if God says this is going to come, we can trust that his promises are true.
Mm-hmm.
And heaven is going to be a really beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
And so life may stink in that current circumstance, but it's only a fraction of what eternity is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that you said that I keep thinking about is like, are you willing to stay in the hands of God even if it doesn't bring an end to your suffering? Right? Are you willing to leave yourself and rest in God's hands even if it doesn't bring an end to your suffering? And I don't know, I think that's a really important thing. And you framed the whole idea of like, doesn't mean that God is like wanting you to hurt and grieve and suffer.
Yeah.
That's not the point, but God has a way of working in that when it comes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing to remember, is God's not wanting this for you.
Yeah.
But when it happens, because we live in a world where those things happen,
Yeah.
he works through it. And I think that is why we can have joy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really well done.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to stay in those moments too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is easier to want everything, to want that to just go away.
Yeah.
It's easier to want that versus the harder thing, which is to stay and trust and to say, hey, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is, I think sometimes it's, if we're honest as Christians, I think sometimes we would rather just be like, God, I wish you would just snap your fingers and then my faith would be way stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But it's through these experiences that we have in these trials that we grow in a way that we wouldn't have been able to grow any other way.
Yeah, St. John of the Cross says that the primary way in which we're formed is through suffering. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sucks to hear, but I think it's true.
Yeah.
And again, it's to tie it back to the mom series, right?
Yeah.
It's just like one of those things that, like, if as a parent you just let your kids have everything they wanted and you took away everything that was hard and they never had to hurt and they never had to grieve, those kids, you've all met somebody who was like that.
Yeah.
And those people are horrible.
Yes.
They're entitled and they're mean and they're selfish and they're awful because they've never had to actually get through anything.
Yes.
And it shapes you, right? And we all understand that as parenting, but for some reason it's cruel when God does it.
Yeah.
But for us as people, we know that's true.
Yeah.
Right? If you just didn't have to go through anything hard ever, that turns you into a person that is not great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That framing of, that kid. Yeah. In some ways, you never know how, and I think this is true, not even in the way of suffering and trials as we're kind of talking about, but even in some of the minor things, is you never know how far you've gone until you've seen even the minor trials where there's a difference between having patience as a driver in Niles and having patience as a driver in Chicago. Those are two different things. And
if you have patience as a driver in Chicago, you're not going nowhere.
Exactly.
Nobody's letting you in, man.
But I think sometimes even in the minor things, even the smaller things where we can even John Mark Comer kind of talks about a little bit in Ruth's elimination of hurry of choosing the harder things sometimes
Mhm.
because it helps grow. Like choosing the longer line at Walmart,
Mhm.
um, because that will just help you grow when you're in those things.
Yeah, the way he frames that is just like training ourselves to be okay when we don't get what we want, right?
Yeah,
And there's like a truth to that I can be okay when I don't get what I want.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think, I think there's something that trials can teach us, whether big or small.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, you went out of your way to say it's not like everything happens for a reason, or
yeah,
you had to learn this lesson. God's teaching you a lesson or
yeah,
whatever like that. That again sounds like God is being vindictive, actively trying to cause harm to you. And I don't
yes,
think that's what it is.
no,
What it is when hard things happen, because we live in a world where hard things happen,
yeah,
sometimes God allows us to go through them because we can grow in it.
yeah,
That doesn't mean that God is actively causing that hard thing.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's really important.
yeah, yeah. What a fun move from moms to suffering and
Mm-hmm.
trials. And
There you go.
I was thinking about that. I was like, we're gonna talk about hardships and moms.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was interesting doing 2 series for Sunday, because usually I just do. Have I? No, I've kicked off a couple where we've like included, but I've never done like a series sort of thing for Sunday. Um, and prepping for a Sunday versus student ministry is very different. It is just different.
Yeah. Yep. It hits harder.
Yeah.
Yep. But you did great. It was
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else on those things?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Well, should I talk to people about what's coming up?
Yes. What is coming up?
So, starting on Sunday, we're starting a series called Tables.
Ooh.
And it's about tables.
Let's go. How to build tables.
Yeah. It's just I'm going to
the
bring
history
some
of
tools.
tables.
I'm going to bring some saws. And I don't know. This week we're starting with just like this idea. There's a lot of imagery in Scripture about tables, but we're starting with just this idea of like sitting at God's table, like allowing God to bring what He has instead of us feeling like we have to make it happen. It's allowing God to, to bring it for us, right? We get to receive. But then there's also going to be a, like you're probably sitting here because somebody called you out, somebody invested in you, somebody shared their story with you, somebody took you along with them. And so who are you doing that for?
Yeah.
And then to wrap it up with just a priesthood of all believers, like you belong at the table. Like all of us have calling and purpose. And you have a seat too. And so it's going to be really cool. And I'm really looking forward to that. But that starts on Sunday.
Let's go. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a giant table out front?
No. That would be funny though. Just like a big long to like a Last Supper Da Vinci style where I just like sit in a table.
Or every week just have a new table. Just
yeah, maybe we will.
It's just a random white.
Should we take this one over right now?
Yeah, just pop it over.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Let's go. That's exciting.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, awesome. Trying to think. Yeah. Excited for that series.
Thanks for watching, guys.
And thanks for watching.
Shout out to John Trick.
John Trick, we love you. And because I was told to bring a reference in, what's a good Mel Brooks? I was told to sneak a Mel Brooks reference in.
Well, you didn't do it. You didn't sneak. You
I
just
didn't
literally
sneak
named it.
I know.
Yeah.
That's my sneak in.
The only ones I can think of are inappropriate, so I'm going to not sneak mine in.
I was trying to think of an appropriate one. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I've seen even enough to make a good one.
Well, who told you that?
The Thielmans.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and they're like
putting you
in.
on blast now.
Bring it in. Yeah. Well, what have you seen Mel Brooks movies?
I've seen Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I have seen Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yep, great.
What are some other ones? I feel like
Blazing Saddles.
I haven't seen that. Princess Bride is not Mel Brooks. No.
What?
Princess Bride?
No. Anyway.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Robin Hood Men in Tights, guys.
Yep. We're men in tights.
Tights.
There we go. Snuck it in.
You're welcome. Hachu, bless you.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, hey, see y'all, and we see you guys next time.
All right, see you guys.
Peace. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Series Recap. The Series Recap exists to encourage people at Hope Community Church to continue to engage with their faith and their formation even after Sunday is over. Our hope is that we can keep formational ideas and concepts in front of us during the week to help redirect our attention back to Jesus as we learn to practice the way of Jesus. We'll see you guys next time. God bless.